Okay, guys, June 4th, 2-minute drill time. We had a podcast special this week on rookie Randy Moss's season 1998. Solly, you were there way back in the day as an ESPN analyst, but what is your favorite Randy Moss moment all these years later?
Yeah, I have a lot of Randy Moss moments, but for me, Sam, my favorite would be going back to that rookie season, and you wrote about it in that wonderful piece, and that was in that Monday night game at Lambeau Field going against the Green Bay Packers. You got to remember, the Packers were a team that was loaded with great players, and it was as if it was a coronation because everyone showed up for a nationally televised game to see this kid named Randy Moss, and he didn't disappoint. Over 190 yards receiving, couple of touchdowns, but I'm talking big plays, spectacular plays where he was dominant, and he was like a man among boys, but yet he was the rookie wide receiver. And that's when everyone knew that this was a guy who was destined for greatness.
Yeah, I mean, that win in Green Bay was the first time the Packers had lost in Lambeau since '95. So it was like multiple seasons in a row. And Randy just changed the complexion of the league. And my favorite moment for him was, rookie season of 17 touchdowns. It was going to be really hard for him to come back from that. But then in 2003, the Vikings had no second wide receiver to speak of. No real tight ends, a bad defense, and Randy Moss carried that team. He was the first NFL receiver in the history of the league with over 100 catches, average over 100 yards per game, and a touchdown per game. To me, like the middle part, he had so many rebirths the New England season, but 03 to me was my favorite season for Randy Moss.
One of my favorite ever NFL clips, sound bites, Randy Moss in the sideline, coaching up Dante Culpepper and saying, just throw it up above his head. They can't jump with me, golly, was the saying. Like Moss was just unbeatable and would tell guys exactly how to exploit his greatness. I think that's my favorite thing. Led to one of the best NFL soundbite clips of all time.
Yeah, Brian Billick was offensive coordinator when Randy Moss came there as a rookie, and he would just tell the quarterback, throw it as far as you can. You can't overthrow Randy. I think he turned out to be right. Let's move on to our second question. Two offenses in the National Football League in 2019 was really built around the run game. That's something we seldom see in today's NFL, and they were the Ravens and the 49ers. So I got to ask you, who has the better offense in 2020? Will it be the 49ers or will it be the Ravens?
Well, it's so hard because the Ravens have made an offense so singularly in the NFL that there's almost no precedent for it. I mean, Lamar Jackson, a vast majority of his yards are on design runs to the quarterback. We have never seen, even Michael Vick's year when he had 1,000 yards, most of them were scrambles. So for me, losing Marshall Yanda, still not necessarily having a bona fide receiver on the outside, I'm going to look at the 49ers here with Kyle Shanahan in his, now it's going to be his fourth year, his second full year with Garoppolo. I'm going to go with the 49ers as the better offense of those two.
I've been back and forth on this topic since we first asked the question before heading into this. I think Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers offense has demonstrated the ability to evolve this system multiple times over. And that's the biggest thing when you think of sort of revolutionary offenses in the NFL. You need to have a version 2.0 or a 3.0 because the NFL figures it out. They slow you down and they stop it if you don't figure out how to evolve it. So I'm really confident that they're still going to be good in 2020 because they just keep evolving and adding things to the system. On the other hand, Lamar Jackson is a unique weapon that the NFL just has not seen before. And I don't know that he's done getting better. I mean, he didn't become a great passer last year, but he went from being one of the worst as a rookie to being somewhere in the middle of the pack. If he takes even another step forward, I mean, there's still not necessarily a limit to how good he can be, even if teams start to figure out some of the things they're doing schematically. So honestly, I don't think either of these offenses are going anywhere.
Well, the Ravens were the only team last year to run the ball over 500 times. They had the most rushing attempts of any team in the league last year. But teams come in, when you play the Ravens, they have one guy to stop. Yeah, they have running backs like Mark Ingram. They're going to have J.K. Dobbins added to the mix. But you really have to stop Lamar Jackson. If you were to look at the 49ers offense, and I think Eric kind of alluded to this, they have such diversification within their offensive system, even when they run the ball. You don't know who you have to stop because they can run it with a receiver like Deebo Samuels. Even Kittle factors into the run game. They have Raheem Mostert, Tevin Coleman. So they just are so diversified in terms of how they move the ball down the field. You can't show up and play the Niners and point to one guy that you absolutely have to stop. And if you stop that one guy, the other guys are hurt you. So I just think defenses might have a better chance of catching up to the Ravens. Not saying they're going to do that, but I think they'll have a much more difficult time trying to catch up to the 49ers offense.
Yeah, speaking of a great offense, the New Orleans Saints this week have been in the news because of what their starting quarterback has said, but they have signed a pretty good backup this offseason in Jameis Winston. What would be the Saints' chances to make a Super Bowl run should they have to lean on Jameis at any point this season?
I assume you mean should they have to lean on Taysom Hill at any point in the season. That's obviously the clear backup there in New Orleans. Look, I think the Saints have probably the best roster in football top to bottom. So regardless of the quarterback, and honestly, I think that probably does extend to Taysom Hill. Whether it's Jameis Winston, whether it's Taysom Hill, I think they're still in good shape. They're still going to be a playoff contending team. But I suspect both of those quarterbacks dramatically ramp up the number of turnovers that are involved in this offense. Drew Brees is extremely good at taking care of the football. I think he has the lowest turnover-worthy throw rate in the last 3 years of any quarterback in the NFL. Jameis has one of the highest. We just haven't seen Taysom Hill throw the ball enough to know where he'll land, but I suspect it's closer to Jameis than Brees. And ultimately, no matter how productive you are, if you have that level of turnovers in your system, you're going to have some problems. You're going to run into a game that you just can't overcome that.
Yeah, we now know that Drew Brees makes better decisions on the field, and it's Jameis Winston that makes the really bad decisions when he's on the field. His 40 turnover-worthy plays 1 year ago. I mean, think about it. The Buccaneers are just 2 games shy of getting into the postseason, and he starts throwing picks in those last 2 games, and they barely lose them both, but they don't get into the postseason. There's no way that I can buy stock in Jameis Winston, even though it's a talented roster. I think you're right, Sam, a talented roster with the New Orleans Saints around the quarterback position. I'm not fully trusting in Jameis Winston.
Yeah, I think you guys make great points, but one of the issues that Brees has had in terms of the last 3-4 years, where he's had 8 interceptions, 5 interceptions, and 4 interceptions, is that the team has been good all around, and he hasn't had to make he hasn't had to be everything for this team, especially since they got the defense in the 2017 draft, namely Marshawn Lattimore. I mean, Brees led the league in interceptions one season. He's had over 20 before when he's had to play behind a bad defense. If Jameis were to play for the Saints, he'd have an infrastructure that would maybe make him less risk prone and have to do less things. And Sean Payton's a terrific coach. So I like Jameis Winston as a plus backup, and I think he gives them a better chance should he have to play than most people think.
You want to get rid of me and get back to more great PFF YouTube content? All you have to do is push that button right there and subscribe. Thanks for watching.